looking at 16, 17-year-olds and realizing how young I really was. At the time, it didn't seem that way in my brain, but looking back at it now, I will never understand what was going through her mind. The 10-year anniversary of graduating just passed, and I just keep seeing all my classmates hit these new milestones, whether they're getting married or buying a house or advancing in their careers, and I just feel like I'm stuck in this moment, but I can't help but wonder if I would be if I was straight, if this was a heterosexual situation, because when you're queer and you're in the LGBTQ community, aside from what do you do or, who are you, it's what is your coming out story? And this is my coming out story. As much as I want to keep it in the past, I have two choices to make. So I have to decide if I want to, one, tell the truth, or two, just give a cordial response and just say it was good and everyone accepted me. I think I'm just conflicted every time because I am an honest person. I am an open book. I don't like to hide things. People on social media love to glaze over everything and make their lives look better than they actually are. But I pride myself on being transparent with people, and even if it's an awkward conversation, I'd rather be honest than tell them a lie. But in everyday social situations, it's not always appropriate to just drop that bomb. It's not just in my past, it's every time someone asks me my coming out story. Sometimes I get on myself for not being where others are on their journey. But then I have to realize, while they were spending time focusing on school and prom and everything else a teenager does, I was dealing with a traumatic event in real time. And it didn't stop there. Once I graduated, it was the same event that I was trying to heal from for the rest of my teens into my 20s. I was completely distracted during a time where I needed to be focused. Yeah, it sucks. But it's made me who I am, and it's very telling how people take it, because there's a handful of people who think it's awesome because of the way the media portrays it in films and this thing to be desired. And then there's other people that actually feel empathy and get sad for me and apologize that I had to go through it. She lost her job immediately. They removed us from each other. I had gotten a restraining order on her, and then the year has come to an end. So then I was entering my senior year, which then the legal stuff proceeds as I'm in school. And I had court-ordered therapy that I had to go to every week. I was dealing with legal stuff regarding it. I personally wanted to settle out of court because I didn't want to spend my whole college career in a courtroom being asked questions about things beyond the situation. Didn't want to be put under a microscope. I've already gone through enough. I already felt like I was put out there for everyone to judge. I didn't want to spend more time going over that. She pled guilty on her behalf to 3 misdemeanor counts of endangering the welfare of a child and 1 misdemeanor count of sexual abuse. Yeah, so articles were broadcasted everywhere. I was obviously left out of them because I was a minor, but I have eyeballs. I read comments online, which was dumb on my part, because people just said, oh, they wanted to secure a college fund, the parents just wanted money, they just made this up, and kept saying all these different things about why I settled so quickly, instead of realizing, if they had their own child, if they were in that situation, like, what would have they have done? Like, maybe they would have gone to court to try and get more money. I don't know. But I didn't care about any of that. I just wanted it to be out of the way. It was embarrassing for me. Like, I didn't want any of this to be around me anymore. It was already a reminder walking through those halls every day. Why did I need to go to school and then be in a courtroom and be questioned and keep dragging it out?
Her lawyer said that it is very clear to him that I made up the entire story. What's not clear is why. We have some ideas, and my investigators will find out what's going on soon enough. Don't worry about that. Okay, the final verdict. It says she would not likely have been sentenced jail time even if convicted, because she had no prior criminal record. Maximum 1-year sentence. She did not admit to anything sexual or physical. Her lawyer said he hasn't seen the civil lawsuit papers, but suspects the action is financially motivated. I've always been suspicious of the motivations of these people, and this just reinforces it. I'm not gonna lie, I wonder if lying ate at her conscience. I want to know if at any moment she felt bad for trying to smear me when I feel like I did everything in my power to protect her. I gave enough that there was basis to my case, but not so much that her life would be completely ruined.
When they weren't making accusations about my motives, they were attacking my mental health. What teenager who is struggling with their sexuality would create this scenario up just to make money? If anything, queer teens will do anything to keep this a secret. There's a reason why people stay in the closet for so long. It's because they're scared of how other people will react. Being a teenager is hard enough. The last thing anyone needs is hate when all they were trying to do is love.
There was one video in particular in the montage of videos that I had taken for the video that I would make for my class, my school, just for fun. And I put my camera on the ledge. I go and walk up to her, and you just see like this sigh of relief on her face, like flirtatious, when you're looking at your partner and it's like a babe moment. And I'm sorry, no matter what the situation is, who it is, no authority figure who gets along with another person, whatever, is going to look at you like that. They're not going to look at you like they want you. And this video, I feel like it's just the definition of guilty. Like, you don't need more than what her face said.
My therapist told me that if I were to go on trial, they would talk to me about issues. And at the time, like, I didn't even realize what mommy issues and daddy issues were. Until recently, I didn't realize how deep they ran. And some people spend their whole lives not being in touch with their trauma and what brought them to where they are now. So for me, at age 16, 17, having people psychoanalyze me and picking apart things that I wasn't even aware of, there was no way I was going to sit there and let them dissect me. Yeah, I just wanted it to be done as quick as possible. I didn't even want any of this to happen, but it did. And obviously I couldn't change any of that. So yeah, I felt guilty for years. I felt like I shouldn't have done it. I should have stopped it. I should have done all these things, even though she was an adult. I definitely feel like it was a slap on the wrist. If this were to happen in 2023, 2024, I think things would have gone differently, but also evidence would have looked differently. I hear a lot of stories about, hush hush money and just sweeping things under the rug and moving on. I just hope that this situation scared her enough to never put anyone in that situation ever again. I was really lucky in terms of my family accepting me. They were more angry about the situation at hand than my sexuality itself. I think the biggest issue with this whole situation for my family was the trust issues and all of the lying that I was doing. It took years for them to trust me again. There were a select few people in school who still gave me a hard time. But for the most part, I surrounded myself with people who saw me as me regardless of what happened. So this is where we were when we saw each other last in person. I was at work and she had come in for dinner with her family. I don't think either of us knew what we were getting ourselves into, but I had to go through my whole shift without saying a peep. And when she was leaving and saying her goodbyes, she looked through that window where that family is sitting right now and glanced over at me and just shook her head and then just walked away. She didn't say anything to me. I didn't say anything to her. I just let it be. And then at the end of my shift, my manager showed me the surveillance cameras, and it looked like she was trying to see down the hall if I was coming. But who is to say if she was going to say something to me? It was just not the right time or the right place. There's no way I was going to say anything to her. I don't think about if it never got out. I feel like it was always meant to get out. I also feel like if it didn't get out and genuinely no one knew and how long, I don't think it would have lasted. I think I would have grown either resentful or had a realization or something to make me get out of that situation. The girl reached out to her teacher in that documentary, and he kind of just shut her out. But I don't think I'd ever make contact like that or feel comfortable enough to do so, because it's scary. You don't know how they're going to react. You're not going to know how they're going to take it. And I truly come from a good place when I want to close this chapter. I don't, like, if communication were to come about, I wouldn't come from an ill place. There's nothing to revenge. It's just simply I want my soul to be at peace with it. And for the most part it is. But there's always a part of me that just thinks hearing or saying my piece might allow me to move forward.
I spent my whole life in private school. I never really had a taste for the real world. But why would I? I was just a kid. I was young. I was naive. I didn't deserve that. And I don't think anyone else should ever have to go through something like that.
I feel like my sexuality for a while was like a scarlet letter that I had to wear, because yes, I was coming out and figuring out my sexuality, but now it's like everyone knows I'm a lesbian. There was some people applying to my school and they would call it the lesbian teacher school. It was like I had to sit in that label. And I feel like now in my life I'm feeling that, where if I were to stray from that label, like I feel like I was just placed there and I have to stay in that spot because that's where I was put. The first thing I would say is don't keep it to yourself. Talk to somebody about it, whether it's a sibling, a friend, or someone more important like a mentor or a guidance counselor or a therapist, someone who can actually help you in the situation. Don't isolate yourself because you feel like you have to. I would say even if you think it's cool or you feel like you have to be in this situation or you want it so badly, there will be other opportunities. You don't need to be in that moment, because I felt like I was in a hetero world. If I didn't take that opportunity, I wasn't going to have one in my brain. Like the time was now to see if this is real. And I feel like if I either waited or realized that there was more opportunity out there, then it would have gone differently. But also there's the aspect of someone older than you thinking you're an old soul, thinking that, you're more mature, or making you feel that way because they like you. It's flattering in a sense to have someone older than you like you. If you are underage and you're in this situation, I would do everything in your power to step away from it as much as you want it. Or sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes, you're deep in it mentally and it's hard. It's not easy to step away from things that are legal. So take a minute and regroup and realize that this is not okay and you are just a child. You need to be with someone age appropriate or be with yourself. Figure that out, because it's not the end of the world. More things are coming for you.
When you attend a religious private school, you aren't necessarily given the right tools that you would need if you're in this situation. There's no GSA, there's no clubs that could support you. You don't really know who to turn to, especially when you're underage. Yes, there's guidance counselors, but then there's also the chance that they might tell your parents.
I think it has definitely shaped me, but I also let it hold me back. When it was all happening, it was a very prime time in my life for college and SATs and all of that, and I was doing miserably on those tests and I didn't really get into any schools. I was waitlisted. I only applied to 4 colleges, and I barely got into one school, and that's the school I went to. I feel like if I was fully present in my high school experience and gave it my all and was focused on the right things, then I would have went to a better school. I would have been around different people and grew the way I was supposed to instead of growing from pain. So in ways, yes, I am stronger. I am more aware. I am many beautiful things, but in other ways, I always wonder who I would have been if I didn't have this on me and I didn't have to deal with that in an important time in my life. Last week I was driving and I saw my 4 friends from high school that also happened to be the friends that were the ones who told my guidance counselors what was going on. They were hanging out like old times. Nothing has changed for them. They always, they're still in that friend group. And it was just a weird perspective to see them all hanging out together and being like on the outside looking in. We haven't really spoken since graduation, which was 11 years ago. But I've never reached out, never thought to. I think we're just in such different places that it wouldn't even make sense.
I think growing up is realizing that it was their high school experience too. I was hurting and confused, and everything was so raw for me. I wasn't really thinking about what their experience was at the time. They didn't owe me anything. My actions partially consumed their high school experience. I felt alone and I just wanted to keep life as normal as possible. I just wasn't emotionally intelligent or healed enough to think outside of what I was going through at the time.
I've gone to comedy school. I've gone to pizza school. I have met so many different people in traveling. I've lived my life in the last 12 years, despite holding on to things that have happened to me in the past. I've lost people that I've cared about. I've allowed myself to love again. Yes, this situation is serious and tore me down to my darkest moments, but I have also lived so many great moments. And just because this has happened to me, it doesn't mean that I have to walk around with my head down and show people physically that I am not okay, because for a while I was not okay. And I was seen as this miserable, dark force. And I hated it. I hated being put into that category because I didn't know how to shine my light again. What's next for me? I have been on this journey trying to figure that out, but I am slowly entering the pizza world and trying to find my tribe of people that makes sense for me in this part of my life. Who knows, maybe I'll go back into comedy. Maybe I'll dabble in a little film writing, but I think pizza is the move for me at the moment.
Sometimes we don't get the closure we want, or the closure we think we need. Sometimes all we can do is move forward, take away the lessons, and show gratitude that we are now older and wiser.